Has He Who Remains actually exiled Reed Richards from the MCU, and this is why he is not present in the timeline currently? The ever-expanding fabric of the multiverse has reintroduced some of the most iconic characters from Marvel's comic roster onto the big screen, with Patrick Stewart's iteration of Charles Xavier returning for the first time since his departure in Logan, and Kang the Conqueror set to make his live-action debut in Quantumania. There is no shortage of what the multiverse has to offer. Now, we know that all three primary iterations of Spider-Man have interacted, and that the MCU is on the cusp of delivering a film centered around the Fantastic Four, bringing Marvel's first family home to the mainline Marvel universe. This has led many fans to wonder, however, where the Fantastic Four have been all this time, and why we haven't heard anything from one of the most prolific teams and explorers since the inception of the very universe. One popular fan theory has recently emerged which seems to explain why neither the Fantastic Four nor their most iconic villain, Victor Von Doom, have ever been seen yet, and it all just may tie back into the main antagonist of phases 5 and 6. Kang the Conqueror. So, stick with us today, watchers, and let's dive into exactly why Reed Richards, and Victor Von Doom in particular, have been absent from the main timeline thus far. In the first season of Loki, it is explained that He Who Remains is a refugee from the first multiversal war, and is the individual who rewrote the multiverse into a singular uniform time stream, doing so in order to prevent himself from ever being born, all but eliminating the multiverse as a concept. He explains that he scripted a timeline that would be safe from the individual known as Nathaniel Richards, who would later become Kang the Conqueror, implying that in this timeline, he is never born, and therefore never sets his sight on the multiverse or multiversal conquest. But few have stopped to wonder, how exactly can this be? This particular theory proposes that He Who Remains deliberately constructed a timeline wherein Reed Richards does not exist, or rather, is unable to have children with the express purpose of preventing the birth of a 616 Kang. In the comics, Kang the Conqueror is a distant descendant of the Richards family, and he uses his incredible intellect to reconstruct the fragments of a broken time machine, thus beginning his villainous tenure as an interdimensional tyrant who travels throughout the time stream, doing so in order to collect artifacts and gadgets, as well as lay waste to eras that he seeks to dominate. Reed Richards is often regarded as one of the most influential beings in the Marvel Comics universe, and is widely accepted as the single smartest individual on Earth, with an incredible wealth of discoveries and advancements to his name alone. He has explored neighboring timelines, different dimensions, and the furthest reaches of space, pioneering an era of exploration unrivaled by anyone else. And the Fantastic Four are cornerstones of any reality that they find themselves in. In the MCU, however, we have heard nothing of this iconic first family of Marvel, and while the out-of-universe explanation can be attributed to rights issues, of course between Disney and Fox, is it possible that in the in-universe explanation, this ties directly back to He Who Remains? And if so, what does this mean for the rest of the Fantastic family? How does Doom fit into all of this? And what does this mean for the upcoming Fantastic Four film? The absence of Reed Richards might not immediately indicate that he was never born, nor does it mean that the likes of the Storm family and Ben Grimm were also eliminated, so let's discuss a few options. Option 1 is that Reed was never born, and without Reed, the rest of the team would not have been exposed to the cosmic radiation that gave them their powers in the first place. The likelihood of them developing powers without Reed's presence is minuscule, and if they do exist on Earth 616, they are likely depowered civilians, living out their everyday lives without ever coming to know that they were ever destined to become iconic superheroes. So there might be something else going on here, as we don't really believe that this is the actual truth of the matter. According to the latest rumors, the team will already be a well-established group, and will have had plentiful experiences utilizing their powers and working with one another. They will be a fully developed unit returning to the future after having spent a year in the 1960s, but we don't currently know if they are natives to Earth 616. If this first option about Reed not being born is true, then the likeliest answer is that at least Reed Richards will be a foreigner from another timeline. And if the team already has chemistry, then the entire team might be from another universe and may have been rehomed. This might hint at the destruction or annihilation of their home reality, but we believe that one key detail regarding their exile might still allow them to be MCU natives. If Reed Richards was in some way exiled to be in the 60s to another dimension, or something else, then he might not have been scripted to have children in the original series of events. This might first explain why they were displaced from the main timeline, and secondly, why they're only just now able to escape after a full year of being stuck. Now that He Who Remains is dead, they can finally escape back to their home year, where Reed and Sue are free to have children and recommence the conception of Kang the Conqueror in the distant future. But the original intention was for them to be trapped there indefinitely to prevent a Kang. Doom, however, might be a different case. While the details are often murky at best, it is believed that Kang is a mutual descendant of both Reed and Doom in the MCU, and that somewhere in his past, his family connected with Doom's bloodline. This means that Kang inherited his intelligence from two of the smartest individuals in the Age of Heroes, and by eliminating both of these individuals from the timeline, he who remains can all but guarantee that even if he is born, he would not have the necessary intellect to become a threat to the timeline. Doing this would allow the Fantastic Four to be native to the MCU and have a personal connection with this particular timeline, while still explaining their absence in tandem with their experience with their powers. And if this is the case, then the timeline would likely look as follows. The team gains their powers at some point on the main MCU timeline, perhaps during the events of the blip where the MCU has remained largely unexplored. During this time, they get stuck in the past before the events of Endgame in order to ensure that Reed and Sue do not have children, as Reed would likely never take the chance in a foreign time. Originally, they were meant to stay here, but can now escape since He Who Remains is no longer monitoring the timeline, leading directly into the events of their solo film, and could also play into the rumors that a Kang variant will be appearing in the Fantastic Four. This may mean that Doom may have been with the Fantastic Four during this expedition, and he too was exiled by He Who Remains in order to ensure that Kang is never born, hinting that we may not only see Reed in this team, but Doom as well at the dawn of their rivalry. Now that they're back, not only will they play an integral role in the future of the MCU, but they will be allowed to continue their bloodline and result in the imminent arrival of a 616 native Kang the Conqueror. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this theory? Do you think Reed Richards was intentionally displaced to the 60s by He Who Remains? And if so, what do you think this means for the future of the Fantastic Four? Were they meant to be trapped there forever? And what do you think their next adventure will entail? Thank you as always, my friends, for watching this video. We will be covering Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania tomorrow, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and I hope that you're having a great day.